I'm Lewis, and today I am here with Renee from Tropical Restoration. Tropical Restoration is based out of Sebastian, Florida, but they do cover the Treasure Coast. They're here for all your restoration needs. Renee, thanks so much for coming out today. I know it's a long drive. I know it's been a long day. We're going to make this really easy, really relaxed. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been doing remediation now for over 10, 11 years. How I got into it is back in the 90s, I went for my bachelor's degree in interior architectural design at the Art Institute. Anyway, they grandfathered me in to be a GC back in the 90s, and I started remodeling kitchens and bathrooms and realized there's a problem, with the wet areas, and we're in Florida. So in the 2000, I think 12 or 13, I went and got state licensed for mold remediation. Water, you don't need a state license. You just need a certificate, or really, I don't even know if you need anything really, but mold, you need a state license.
Okay. And what is that license? I've looked around on other sites
hmm
besides what you have, and I see a couple different licenses. So what is that state license called?
The MRSR, mine is MRSR 2639, and that's for remediation. And then there's the MSRS, and that's for mold assessing.
Okay. Now, you and I have had a couple of conversations.
Yes.
One of the things that I found really interesting is although you take care of disaster, I have a flood, I have a fire, I have something like that, right?
Right.
You shared with me some of these smaller things that can bring mold, some things that people may not know, like a small plumbing problem. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, I did a job recently in Palm Bay where the homeowners they have these split units, and it's a different type of air conditioning system. It's all in one, like the air handlers outside with the condenser. Anyway, long story short, she had these gnats, like the pest person thought they were fruit flies, but they ended up being fungus gnats, in which they come from mold, and they were basically all in her attic and then flying into her. Well, you stand there, you were swatting them. That's how much. Yeah, she had an infant and a toddler. Anyway, comes to find out they were from mold, and from her air conditioning system not working properly. It created mold in her attic, and created these gnats to come in.
It's horrible. It's
So,
horrible. And that's one of those things where, I would probably think again, I'd call pest control first,
right,
obviously. Let's see if we can get rid of these gnats. But there's those things that people don't know about, right?
right.
So, like I know in my house, my AC unit, I'm looking up at my vents and I see black stuff up there. So I call up my AC guy, uh, people who built our home, whoever they used. He
Right.
comes out, he says, well, everything's fine, but it looks like we need to clean your AC ducts.
Mm,
I don't know any better. I said, okay, great. He goes up, he sprayed some stuff inside the vents. Uh, I come back 3 weeks later, and guess what? The black stuff is back. So I would have loved to have known you then, where I could have been like, "Hey, Renee, this is my situation. This AC guy told me this, but I'm still seeing this black stuff." And when I got closer, it was mold.
yeah.
And that's scary because I have two small kids. At that time, I think my kids were 10 and 7.
hmm
So I don't know what kind of molds there are. I don't know if that's safe for my children to breathe in. I'm noticing I'm having a hard time breathing. My wife is coughing,
Yeah,
and the AC people are simply telling me, "We sprayed it. Don't worry about it. It's clean."
I know. You have to be very proactive, and it's sad that there's people out there, like I've met personally, a couple of AC companies that they believe in their head that I'm EPA approved, I can clean mold. And I'm like, no, you can't. You need a state license. No, that I wasn't going to argue, but yeah, they don't call remediation companies. They just do, or they suggest a UV light. I'm surprised they didn't try to get you for a UV light.
They did. They said that they could put it
I
on
mean, a
the.
UV light is good.
Mhm.
But you first have to get the source fixed and then clean the problem and then do the UV light.
Yeah.
But yeah, the air conditioner is a big culprit. And then, also there's just regular, well, now a lot of pipes are copper. Like, down south, the cast iron is compromising
Right.
the cracks with north here in the Indian River County area, Treasure Coast. Uh, it's the copper pipes are compromising. They're getting little teeny pinholes, and I mean, I'm not a plumber, but I contributed to uh, the sediment, and they're adding the water department is adding different chemicals into the water, perhaps maybe chlorine, more of. But between the sediment and then the chemicals are creating these little pinholes. And people don't know that they have this leak going on. It's a very slow, sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's a big one, but usually it's a slow one where they have mold growing now for quite a while. And on your insurance policy, you got to be proactive. So I tell a lot of people just, always be aware, like look under your kitchen sink, in your bathroom sinks, check like when every now and then when you're cleaning, check your baseboards. If you see separation on your baseboards coming away from the wall and the paint, call me if you see any yellow stains, of course, obviously that's a really big signal.
Mhm.
But usually the casing or the baseboard coming away from the wall, if you have like laminate flooring, you'll see coupling, they call it, and that's when it starts buckling a little bit,
Okay.
raising and you know that there's a problem going on. And yeah, and I have the tools to find the source most of the time. I have the infrared camera that detects water leaking and so on. I have the borescope that I can go in through the walls and check behind. I had a customer that everything looked fine inside her cabinets. Everything was fine. She had a previous leak in the laundry room. And then I was like, let me just check. And I did. I put a little half-inch hole in her cabinet that I told her I would plug up, never know it was there. And there was mold loaded behind her cabinets.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's something nobody would ever see.
Nope.
So it can just expand.
and
And
and it's contained. So for the most part, you really don't smell it. I happen to have a very well, I'm allergic to my job now because I've been doing it for so long that my body's like, no more. And when I put my head in there, I actually had a scent of it, and that's when I encouraged her to let me put a hole in the cabinet. Yeah, I had to remodel her. Everything had to come out. I did the flooring. I had to take it all out. Everything I had put in.
mm,
Yeah, that was fun with the insurance company. But yeah, so I tell people just while you're cleaning, or if you have a cleaning person, or just whatever, you pay attention to little things like that you normally wouldn't even think.
yeah,
Um, Unfortunately, sometimes we don't until a big thing happens. You come home and there's an inch of water in your house. Or I had a person that they were away and their water heater blew up,
mm.
caused a fire, but the water heater put the fire out. But then they were gone for 3 weeks, so they had fire, water, and mold.
What a way to come home.
Oh my gosh, you got to really feel sorry for people, and
Yeah,
I do. I really do. I don't. I take pity on that.
of
It's
course.
yeah. I hate doing hurricanes for that reason.
Yeah, that's got to be tough to walk in and
Yeah,
you know the devastation
they
that's
lost
there.
all their pictures and
Oh,
life and memories, and it's horrible.
that's horrible.
Yeah, and it's difficult to get a hold of the insurance company at that point too. But it's sad. I try to make it as comfortable as possible because I can relate doing it for so long, and even before that, even when I was remodeling kitchens and I always try to make people as comfortable as they possibly can be. Like I have a company that I deal with that um, they house you. They submit everything to your insurance company. It's called ALE, the coverage that you have in your policy, uh, and they go through it directly. You don't have to put out a dime, and they set you up in a house that's comparable to what you're living in. That's part of your policy, where Everybody has ALE in their policy.
So I want to go back a minute because what got me there is you said when I look at your company and I'm thinking, okay, well, they just do, let's just say, dry outs, right?
Hmm.
You don't just do dry outs. You don't just set a fan, forget it, I'm out, I'm done, go to somebody else, what else you need done, right?
No, I put back the drywall and finishing knockdown, whatever it is, popcorn knockdown, and then painting, baseboard, flooring.
Okay, so you wrap that job up tight.
Yeah, listen, again, it depends on if the homeowner wants me to do so, then I will,
Sure,
and
sure.
but yeah, I try to make it, we make it easy breezy is our slogan. So yeah,
So you guys, I mean, obviously the big thing when I look at different companies that do what you do, everything that I see is disaster, disaster, disaster. But I think my biggest thing and my biggest thing for you is when do I call you if it's not a disaster? When should I be thinking if there's a funny smell in the house?
mm, exactly. So funny you say this because um I just I just been dealing with a person doing social media with them, and they had a waste backup and like just dried it up. Like in other words, everything that I've been explaining,
Mhm.
they didn't even heed to my what waste backup is category 3 water, contaminated that you take immediately. So like something like you have a funny smell in your house, you call a remediation company because I know you're listen, it's a knee-jerk reaction. Let me call my AC person
Mhm.
because it smells funny in the air. But we do an air test sample, and see if what's going on. We inspect your attic to see if you have anything going on there, and then again with the infrared camera to see all your openings. I had a customer that all her windows were retrofitted with the store windows and they didn't caulk properly. So they were all like all moisture was coming in with these windows. And so she had an abundance of moisture in the house. And so, I told her you just need to caulk your windows and then, you know, uh, put the ozone machine in that, makes the air smell better and kills any living organisms and so on. But yeah, if you have a funny smell or you have a little water backup, like even if it's a little one and it gets under your cabinets, you just don't, wipe it up with towels and move on. And then like 3 days later, you decide to put a fan on it, which is the worst thing you could do. Because, most people know that mold grows between 24 and 74 hours. And do not put a fan on it after that because whatever's growing now, you're just spreading those spores. And, so yeah, but a lot of people don't. They put, an air freshener or something in the
Yeah,
house
yeah, yeah.
or damp rid.
Yeah, they just let's make it smell better. Let's not fix the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. That's the whole thing is you have to be proactive and have to like I know we're busy, we're working, we're taking care of kids, school, da da da. But yeah, a little thing turns into a big thing, and that's what you try to avoid.
Yeah, so make the call first.
Yeah, yeah. I
Make the call
mean,
first.
there's no charge to just for us to come out and look. So
Now you guys use we've talked a little bit and you use some what was it, infrared or thermal camera, but
yeah, the
what's some of the
flare.
technologies that you use that can help really hone in on the problem?
Yes. Hmm.
What are some of those things that we don't have access to? So when I call you, I know that you're going to nail this problem.
Well, I mean, obviously a moisture meter. Anybody can go pick up one of those, but most people don't have the flare, the infrared camera, which is short for forward looking imaging, and that detects moisture as well as very high moisture and as well as water intrusion.
Okay.
And so that with the moisture meter, and then we have, like I said, the borescope, and that we can get behind cabinets, behind the drywall, behind baseboard, behind anything, and see if now that area that was once wet, does it have mold? Let's say, like I had a lady that had a yellow stain in her ceiling, and again, they had their roof, they had a leak, so the roofer came out, talked them into doing a new roof, which is great, but they didn't do anything with the wet insulation that was up there. And so roofers, I talk to roofers all the time. They don't care about your wet insulation. They're just there to put your new roof.
Yeah, they're just new roof. I'm
And
out. I'm done.
they don't go in your attic and look at and obviously, if you had a leak, a roof leak, and your ceiling is yellow, your insulation between the two and
Right.
mold loves insulation, you know, and it's not going to go away. I mean, you could hope and pray, but it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
So I just simply showed her that there was mold up there. Now, a lot of things get affected when that happens. It's a domino effect.
Well, when that insulation is now sitting on your
Right.
trusses, now that
Right.
mold can go to your trusses, right?
Absolutely. We have to treat the trusses. Yep.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I have pictures, gobs of pictures of the black mold, and the black mold kicks off the surface mold, which is green and pink and yellow. And people wonder, like, why is my house all dusty? And it's not dust, it's really surface mold. One lady, I went to her house, she had a black table like this. Literally, there were swirls. Like, your dust in your house is not going to go into like a little swirl. And it was like pink and green and yellow, and it now turned into, which is the worst mold, is surface mold, because it's fine little particles, in layman's terms, just it's floating in the air that the naked eye doesn't see.
Mhm.
And with a particle counter, that's the only way you could actually see the particles in the air. And you were inhaling that through our nostrils and our mouth all day long, every day, our animals, children, us, and that's what sticks to your lungs. It's not the black heavy mold,
Mm.
because it's heavy. It doesn't float around. But once disrupted, that black mold has all surface mold in it, and that's what the source. That's where people that have handymen uh, clean the mold is like the biggest mistake you can make, because when you're disrupted, you can't just pull out the drywall and like go about your merry way. You got to build a containment. You got to contain that area while you're tearing things out, so that you have all the registers closed, you have your air off. There's a whole protocol that you do, that you follow. And these handymen or AC people or, painters, they don't, it's serious. It's not.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, it's not really the black mold that's so, oh, leave it alone. Don't interrupt it when you see it. Don't wipe it, especially not with bleach, but don't wipe it away. Just leave it alone and let us take care of it, because there's a reason why there's a protocol. There's a reason why there's state licensing.